Hello and welcome to Advanced Photoshop. This is Mike McCreesh, your instructor, and today we're going to get you started on a nifty little assignment, creating digital smoke. But first you want to log on to Blackboard, and we'll go to the assignment section where you will find a list of assignments there. Now the browser I'm using is Firefox. That's the browser you want to use. Or you could use Safari too, but you don't want to use Internet Explorer because Internet Explorer and Blackboard do not play together well. You will not be able to download files if you're using Internet Explorer. So make certain that you're using Mozilla Firefox or Apple's Safari as your browser so that you can download necessary files. So once you have logged into Blackboard, go to the assignment section and click on that, and you'll find that your first assignment is called Up in Smoke. You'll see that we've got a finished example of what our project will look like. It's a coffee cup with steam coming out of it, and the steam is created digitally. And we also have added some text. We're going to spend some time not only on creating the smoke or the steam, but creating text that looks good. And one of the purposes of this assignment is to get you to start thinking about the tools in the toolbox and other menu commands in a creative way to become artists and designers using these tools. Now here on Blackboard I've also placed a written tutorial that describes how to create smoke or steam in a sort of a basic way. Of course I'm going to show you how to do that here in this video, but the main thing I want to emphasize is that this is a very experimental process, and you'll have to spend quite a bit of time experimenting, making this smoke or this steam look as photorealistic as possible. That's our goal, is to make it indistinguishable from a photograph. Now I've also provided a couple of professional examples on Blackboard you can take a look at. Professional Example 1 and Professional Example 2. And you can download those and take a look at them. Just right click and choose Save Link As if you're on the PC. And let me take a look at those here in Photoshop. Here we go. Here we've got a cigar in an ashtray and smoke coming off the cigar, but as you see, the smoke creates an image of a ballerina as it goes up into the air. So really nice work there. And then we've got another example here, Professional Example 2, which shows a candle that's been extinguished, and as the smoke comes off of the wick of the candle, it creates an image of a dove. So this shows you the kind of work that can be done with this particular technique. We're also going to download this JPEG image of a coffee cup. So I'm going to right click on that and choose Save Link As, and we're going to save that in your folder where you store all of your work for this class. And we save that because we're going to be using that here in a bit. I've also included a smoke assignment Word document on Blackboard which describes all the particulars about the assignment. It's not the tutorial, though I also have a written tutorial there. But the smoke assignment Word document just describes the goals and the expectations of the assignment. And similar documents are provided for each assignment throughout the course of the semester. Okay, so let's start out by launching Photoshop, and I'm going to create a new file once I do so. File New, or Control or Command N. And I'm going to call this file Smoke. I'm going to set the width to 3.5 inches, and you can just press Tab to go over to different fields. I'm going to set the height to 5 inches and the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. Now the reason I'm setting it at 300 pixels per inch is that we are creating this file to be printed, and if I'm going to be printing this file, I need to set the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. If it's only going to be viewed on a computer monitor, then I would set the resolution to 72 pixels per inch. Our color mode will be RGB, and let's just go ahead and set our background contents here to transparent. And we'll click OK. Now I'm going to double click on my hand tool in the toolbar, and that is going to fit my file to the window that I have available there. If I were to double click on the zoom tool, it would view it at 100% magnification, but regardless of how big you've got your screen or your window scale, if you double click on the hand tool, it's going to display it as large as it can in the window space that you have available. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about our work area here. I'm going to resize my window here just a little bit, and then I'm going to move it over just so that you can see a little bit better here. But up over in the upper right hand corner here, you'll have a drop down menu. Yours will probably say Essentials by default, and you can scroll through these to see different layouts of your panels, and you can also set up your own custom panel, which is what I do. Again, my default is set for Essentials, and you can collapse and expand these panels as you see fit, and you can rearrange them as well. The way I like to do mine is, let me collapse these for just a second here. I can find the panels that I want to use most often. Let's say, for example, I want to use the clone stamp tool. I can click and drag and pull that out like this, and then I can take it over here and drag it, and when I see that little blue line appear, I can dock it in that particular area. Now some of these panels have more than one panel nested inside each other, and so I can pull them out individually and place them there as well. If you see a blue square appear, it's going to place it in a group of another panel. If I just see a single line like this, I'm just going to drop it right there, and it places it there. So I'd like to have mine kind of set up individually like this. And some of these panels, like the history panel, never use the history panel. History panel's for sissies, so I'm just going to close that up and not deal with it. These are my actions. Actions are very useful. We're not going to be using those much, if at all, at least for our most of our projects, so I'm going to close that up. And then the properties panel right here, again, I don't use that often, so I'm going to close that up. And then my information panel, if I don't use that, it's kind of handy. Maybe I just want to keep that out, just dock that over here with my other panels. And now I have all of my panels over here onto the side, and I can click my drop down menu at the top, my workspace menu, and I can choose new workspace, and I can give it a name. And click OK. And this is especially useful if you're in a working environment where more than one person is using the same computer and maybe they want it set up differently, or maybe you do work in photography one day, you might be working on motion graphics the next day, and you want to have your workspace set up differently. So you can arrange and save your own workspace. I'm going to go back to my original one right here, and over here it has the panels that I used most commonly. Of course, you can get to all of your other panels just by going to your window menu. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move my workspace back over here so you can see it once again, and resize it just a little bit like that. And I'm going to open up my layers panel. And with layer 1 active, it's the only layer I've got. If, by the way, if it's not selected or not active, you have to click on it first before you can do anything to it. And I want to fill this with black paint. I'm going to go choose Edit and choose Fill, and I would choose black. But I'm going to show you a keyboard shortcut. This is a command that we're going to be using a whole lot, so we need to start memorizing and using our keyboard shortcuts. So instead of doing that, I'll cancel out. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and press the back button, and this little panel pops up automatically. It's a little bit quicker, and over the duration of a particular project, these little 1 and 2 second time savings really add up and cut down your production time. So I'm going to choose black, and there's a drop-down menu if black is not displayed, and set the mode to normal, opacity 100%, blah blah blah, and click on OK. And now it's filled with black. A little hard to see, but only because we've got a black field or a dark gray field behind it. Now the only reason we filled this as black is because I'm going to be painting some digital smoke, and it'd be very difficult to see it if I didn't have a black background. So that's the only reason I'm doing this. So I'm going to create a new layer set. And if you go down to the bottom of your layers panel, you will see this little folder icon right here. And I'm going to click on that. And actually I'm going to hold down the alternate key or option if you're on the Macintosh and click on it. And this little dialog opens up. Now because I held down the alternate key when I clicked on it, it allows me to name this layer group or layer set, as they're sometimes called. If I didn't hold down that, it would create a new layer group, but it wouldn't give me the option on the fly of naming it. I'd have to come back later and name it. So I'm going to go to name. I'm going to call it smoke. Click OK. And now there is my new layer set or layer group. Okay, now inside this layer group I'm going to create a new layer. So I'm going to again hold down my alternate key and this time click on the new layer button. And once again I'm prompted to give it a name, so I'm just going to call this Smoke 1. Click OK. And you see that it creates a new layer, and that layer is indented underneath the smoke layer group, which indicates that it is nested inside that layer group. And you can spin open that triangle to open and close it and see that it's in there. Now I'm only working with a few layers here, but usually you're going to be working with many layers. When you get into an advanced project, you might have 30, 40, 50 layers, and it becomes very important to keep things organized. So we want to keep our layers named. Anytime you get more than 2 layers, let's go ahead and give them a name. And if you create a new layer without naming it, you can simply double click on the title and name it. For example, right here, layer 1 is just filled with black. I can just double click on that and I'll just call it background or something like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get ready to paint here. Let's go ahead and make the smoke layer active. And I'm going to come over here to my toolbar on the left-hand side, and there's this little double arrow up there, and I click on that, and I can display the tools in 2 columns instead of 1. And I'm doing that here just so that you can see all of the tools, otherwise some of them would be hidden from view. And once I do that, I'm going to press D on my keyboard, and what that does is sets my default colors to black and white, foreground and background, if they're not there already. And then I'll press X on the keyboard to swap those colors. Now those are again more keyboard shortcuts, and you can find a list of these keyboard shortcuts in the document section of Blackboard, and I strongly recommend that you download this and memorize these shortcuts. If you forget a shortcut, you can just hover your mouse over that tool and it tells you the name of the tool, and in parentheses it shows you the keyboard shortcut, and then it disappears after a few seconds. Now before we go any further, I want to stress that this project is very experimental, and you will need to spend a lot of time experimenting and trying things out. The techniques I'm going to show you today is, the settings for this technique are just kind of starting points, and you'll to really get good not only at creating projects like the smoke project, but any project. You're going to have to spend a lot of time experimenting, exploring, and reading to see what you can do. So anyway, we're going to go to our paintbrush tool, and the keyboard shortcut is B for brush. So I just press that, and it makes my paintbrush tool active. And up here at the top, I'm going to choose this right over here is my brush size, and I'm going to click that, and here we have all of our various brushes that are available to us, and you can scroll those down, and you can also display those in a variety of different ways. I can click on this little settings button in the top right corner, and you'll see that by default there it's set to small thumbnail. I can choose large thumbnail, or what I like to do is I choose either large list or small list, because they have names, and it's sometimes easier for me to find something based on its name rather than just the way that it appears. So what I'm going to do is choose a soft round brush, and these are the options for the brush. This is your size slider, and I can drag the slider to the left or to the right, or I can type in manually a particular size. Same thing with the hardness. I'm going to leave the hardness set to 0, and I'm going to start out setting the brush size to 25 pixels. Again, this is experimental. You might try some sizes out for your own. Then I'll just press enter. Now there's another way we can change our brush size and the brush hardness, and that is by using the bracket keys on my keyboard. And the bracket keys are just to the right of the letter P on your keyboard. And if I click on the right bracket key, notice my brush size gets bigger. Like right now I'm at 150 pixels. Press it a few times to the left and it goes back down to whatever size I want. And again, I'm going to leave mine set at 25 pixels. Well, just for the demonstration, let me just go ahead and make it a little bit larger here. And then if I hold down the Shift key and press your left and right bracket keys, you can adjust the hardness and softness. If I shift and press the right bracket key, the brush hardness is increased. If I shift click on the shift press, not click, if I shift press the left bracket key, the brush softness is increased, or the hardness is reduced. So anyway, that's how we do that. And once again, I'm going to drop my brush size back down to 25 pixels, and I'm going to start out just by, I want to make certain my opacity is set at 100%, and the mode is set to normal, and I'm just going to draw kind of a little squiggly line like that. Simple as that. Okay, so we're going to take this little line here and we're going to make it, we're going to manipulate it quite a bit, do some heavy editing on it, make it look like smoke. So I'm going to go to my smudge tool. Now there is no keyboard shortcut for the smudge tool, but it's hidden underneath the blur tool. So I click and hold down, we're going to find the smudge tool right here. By default, the strength is set to 50%. I'm going to set that to 60. Now again, there's a couple of ways we can change that. I can click on that, select it, and type in 60. I can click this little triangle button just to the right of that, and there's a slider. I can adjust it to 60 there, but my favorite way is just use the keyboard shortcut. If I press 6 on my keyboard, not on the 10 key on the right hand side of the keyboard, but just the numbers across the top of the keyboard. If I press 6, it's going to set it for 60%. 1, 10%, 0 is 100%. If I want to set it at, say, for example, 35%, I just press 3-5 very quickly and it sets it at 35%. But again, I want to set mine at 50, so I just press 5, sets my strength to 50%. Now you also have a brush size for your smudge tool. By default it's set at 13 pixels, and once again I'll just use my bracket keys and jump that up to let's just try about 35 pixels for starters. And again, this is very experimental. If this doesn't work, we'll try something else out. But I think 35 pixels will work fine for this image for starters. Okay, I think I made one mistake there. I meant to set the strength to 60%, not 50%. So I just press 6 on my keyboard, and there we go. Our strength is set to 60%. And what I'm going to do here with my smudge tool is, let me zoom in here just a little bit. And quick keyboard shortcut for zooming in is pressing Control and the plus sign, or Command plus if you're on a Macintosh. And I'm just going to start dragging and painting over this little line that we've created right here. And you see it's starting to look like a little wisp of smoke. And as you can see, because we have our brush size at 35 pixels, the curls on our purported smoke are a little bit tight. If I increase my brush size, let's put it up to say 100%, and start dragging, you see the effect is a little more dramatic. You don't get quite as many twists and turns that way. And we'll just kind of experiment and work those around. Now, if you've seen images of smoke, or if you examine smoke in real life, which is even better, you'll notice that the smoke gets broader as it rises into the atmosphere, and so we'll kind of experiment with that as we go along here. And again, here I want to move down to the top of my image. I'm holding down the space bar. The space bar temporarily makes the hand tool active, so I can navigate around this way. Let go of the space bar and it goes back to my smudge tool. And we just kind of play around with it until it starts looking like a wisp of smoke. Okay, well, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this finger painting option up here on my options bar at the top. And when I have that option selected, the smudge tool takes your foreground color, which in our case is white, and it kind of blends it in as you drag around there. Maybe I'll drop my brush size down here a little bit, and we'll just kind of swirl around like this, and so I can create more paint, or more smoke rather. And I may want to drop my strength down. It's getting a little bit too bright too quick for me anyway, so I'm going to drop that down to maybe 30% and increase my brush size. And I can just click and drag, click and release, and make more smoke this way. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of speed things up, because I don't want this to be a a 2-hour video. I want it to be about 25-30 minutes at the most. But you'll want to spend at least an hour, maybe 2 hours or more, working on this to create a really nice smoke effect and make it look nice and realistic. There we go, kind of swirling things around there. And again, you can drop your brush size down. You can turn off the finger painting option if you want to go back to working with just the smudge tool by itself, or if you make a mistake, you just go to your eraser tool, and your eraser tool acts just like any other brush. Increase my brush size there, and make certain that the softness is, or the hardness rather, is set to 0%, and probably cut my opacity of the brush down to about 30%, so it gives me a little more control, and I can just erase things that I don't like. So it's very flexible. So I'm going to continue here just a little bit more. Let me turn that. Let me go back to my smudge tool here. Turn on finger painting and drop my strength down a little bit and the brush size down, and just add a few little bits of white smoke there. Now, like I say, as the smoke rises into the atmosphere, it's going to become broader and more faint. So I won't have as much detail in the top as I would, say, towards the bottom of it. Now what I'd like to do is make this a little more complex by adding additional layers. So again, I can go to my Layers panel, pull down the Alternate key, and click on the New Layer button. I'm going to call this one Smoke 2. And I can add additional smoke there. Go back to my paintbrush and play around, have some fun. Let's see here. I'm going to drop my opacity of this brush down a little bit here. Again, I can always add additional coats of paint, as it were, and to make it a little more dense. And I can go to my smudge tool, my blur tool, other related tools, and play around with those a little bit. Now, something else I can do to make my smoke a little more complex and to save myself some time is to take one of these smoke layers. I'll take smoke 2 here. Let me turn off smoke 1 just so you can see what I'm doing. Here's smoke 2. And I'll copy that layer. All I have to do is drag it to the New Layer button, and it makes a copy of that layer. And then I'll free transform it. You can choose the long way, edit, transform, and free transform, but we're going to use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control Command T. And I will right click and choose flip horizontal. And now I have 2 of these, and I can move it around like this. I can cut the opacity of that layer. And again, I can change the opacity again in a number of ways. Quickest way to do that is just hover your cursor over the word that says opacity, and you see that little hand symbol with the 2 arrows on it. That means it's a scrubby tool. So I can click and drag, and I can drop that opacity down a little bit like that. And I can continue working around with those. Go to my Move tool, move it around somewhere else if I want to, however I want to do it. Okay, some time has passed here, and I finished up my smoke. I think it's looking pretty good. and I am going to go ahead and open up my coffee photograph that I downloaded from Blackboard. There's my coffee picture, and what I'm going to do is, you see that both pictures are open and displayed here at their titles displayed here at the top. I'm going to take my smoke file and drag that down just a little bit, just so that each picture can be visible side by side. And then what I'll do is go over to my layers panel, and I'll take that smoke layer set and I'll just drag and drop it right on top of my coffee image, like that. Now I'm finished with the smoke PSD file, so I'll go ahead and close that up, and I will save it. And then over here in my coffee picture, I'll go to my move tool, and I'll move my smoke around my onto my image. Now it might be a little bit on the big side. It is here for me, so I may want to use the free transform tool. Control Command T, scale that down, and if I hold down the Shift key and the alternate key, it's going to scale them towards the center and uniformly. And I'll just kind of place it over here like this. And you can see part of my smoke there is cut off. That's because one of my layers there is kind of cropped at the top. And that would be, in this case here, my smoke 1 layer. So I can move that up, I can move it down, I can free transform it. I think what I'm going to do is actually just kind of leave it right about here. Free transform it a little bit. Up about like that. Looks pretty fair. And then the next thing I want to do is mask off parts of the smoke that are covering up, they're actually going over my edge of the coffee cup. I'm going to zoom in there. I'll press Control and the plus sign on my keyboard. I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little bit better. And I'm going to make the smoke layer set itself active by clicking on it. And then I'll come down to the bottom of the layers panel and I'll click on the layer mask button. And that creates a layer mask that's going to apply to all of my smoke layers. Now it's filled with white paint. Whenever you use a mask, you might want to remember the little adage that black conceals, white reveals. So because there's white paint in there, everything is displayed. To conceal parts of it, I'm going to switch to black paint, so just press X on my keyboard to switch to my black paint. Go to my paintbrush tool. Might want to check my opacity. I'll probably set that at 100%. And just going to mask off all of that smoke that's extending over the edge of my cup there. May have to be pretty careful there. I don't want to get that mask extending above the rim of the cup. And then I want to just make certain that all of that steam going below the cup is masked off. I'll zoom out by pressing Control or Command minus on the keyboard and make certain that all of that unintended steam is masked off. And I can drop the opacity of my brush down to say something like 10 or 20% and kind of do some gentle masking around the edges there. I can also lower the opacity of individual layers so that it doesn't look like there's a 3-alarm fire going on in this coffee cup. or I can select the layer set itself and drop the opacity for all layers. We want to make it look like steam coming off of this cup. Okay, so our steam has been added to our coffee cup, and as you can see, this is an advertisement for McDonald's coffee, and we're going to have to add some text to it. And we're going to I'm going to show you a nice little technique to organize your type and have it relate to the image. And typography is an art form in and of itself. You don't want to think of the use of typography as just like word processing, where you just type a bunch of text up there, slapdash, and expect it to look good and to be easily read. You have to pay a lot of attention to how you use text. And so the first thing we're going to do is set up a couple of guidelines. So I'm going to turn on my rulers. I'll press Control R. Again, I can go to View and choose Rulers. And you see there's the keyboard shortcut, Control R, or Command R on the Macintosh. But Control R, quick way to do that. And I'm going to pull out a couple of guides. From the ruler margin on the left side, I move my cursor over there and I click and drag a guide out to the very left edge of the coffee cup, and I'll pull another one out that lines up to the right edge of the coffee cup. Now these guides will never print out. They're only viewable on a monitor, so you don't have to worry about them printing. But we want our text to be inside the boundaries of these guides so they relate to the width of the cup. Now the font that I'm going to use is going to be Arial. Now I want to talk a bit briefly about fonts, very briefly. But fonts are really important. The type of text we're entering now is referred to as display type. Anything over 14 points in size is considered display type. Anything smaller than that is considered body type. And display type is used for headlines and subheadlines and things of this nature, or larger than normal text. And most of the fonts that are installed on your computer are display fonts. But we don't want to just choose any font. We want something that our audience can read very quickly and very easily. And the reason I'm using Arial, my preference would be Helvetica. But Helvetica is it comes installed on a Macintosh computer. If you have a PC, you'd have to go out and buy Helvetica and install it on your computer. What Microsoft did is they didn't want to pay the licensing fees for Helvetica, so they created their own font called Arial. And Arial is similar to Helvetica, not quite as nice, and most designers kind of cringe at the thought of using Arial, but for our purposes here, it'll work pretty well for us. Certain fonts you never ever want to use. Comic Sans, unless you're actually making a comic book. And even though it's rather lovely, I would steer clear of Papyrus because it is so overused. Another one of my fonts that I never use is Copperplate, once again because it is so overused. And there are people who will argue that Helvetica is also overused. You see it on signages, you see it in ads, you see it everywhere. But it is such an elegant and easily read font that it's a good default font to use. And what makes it easy is that the X height, which is the size of the lowercase x, is rather large. Makes it easier to read. So let's get down to it. Let's go to our type tool here. First of all, let me make certain that my smoke layer is active. Click on that first. My smoke layer set. And then I'll go to my type tool. And at the top here, these are my fonts. So I'm going to choose Arial from the the list of fonts. And the fonts that you have on your computer may be different than the ones that are on my computer. It depends on the operating system and the version of that particular operating system. But Arial is installed on like every computer known to mankind. So I'm going to set that to Arial. The type style, I'm going to choose bold. And the font size, I'm going to set that, for now, I'm going to set it at 36 points. We can change that later if we need to. And a point, by the way, is a 72nd of an inch, but type is always measured in points. So we're going to choose 36 points. And over here on our text orientation, we're going to choose center text. And I want the color of my text to be white, so I click on this little color picker right here and I'll choose white. And then I'll click in the area between these guides and you get a little blinking cursor, and you'll see that as soon as you do so, Photoshop creates a new text layer for you. And so I'm going to enter the word good. And I'll press return and type in to the last. And I'll press return again and type in the word drop with an exclamation point at the end. Next, I want to center this text. I'm going to go to my selection tool. And I'll press Control or Command A to select all. Again, I could go to my select menu and choose all, but it makes more sense to press Control or Command A to select everything. Once it's all selected and my selection tool is active, you'll see that your selection or your alignment options are available in your options bar at the top. So I'm going to align this along the horizontal centers. So now it's perfectly centered above my or on my workspace. I'll deselect at this time. Now I want all of my text to fit inside these two vertical guides. So I'm going to go to my text tool and I will double click on the word that says good. Now you'll also notice too, before I get any further on this, the letter spacing is a little bit wide. There's just too much space in between these letters. And I'm going to adjust that. That's referred to as adjusting the tracking. It's just the space for all the letters in a string of text. If I just want to adjust the spacing between two letters, I'd be adjusting the kerning. But I'm going to adjust the tracking on this. And the quick way to do that, I could, well, let me show you the slow way. I can go to my character panel, and here you can see where I can adjust my my tracking, which is right here. And so I can either scrub on this little V and A symbol and bring those letters closer in or farther apart, or I can use these drop-down menu, and these are referred to as measured in units of thousandths of an M quad, and these are really fine adjustments. But the quickest way for me to do that here on the fly is hold down my Alt key or Option key if you're on the Macintosh and press the left and right arrows on your keyboard, and we're going to bring those letters in closer together. We don't want them to be touching, but we want them to be nice and close. I think that looks pretty good. Now to adjust the size, I'll go to the options bar and you'll see this little size option for the font size. I'm going to click on that and I'll just drag that to the right until the letters just touch my guidelines. I like that, looks good. I'll go to the next line of text, and I will triple click on it to select the entire line of text. And again, I'm going to hold down the alternate key and press the left arrow key repeatedly to bring those letters a little bit closer together. I don't want them to touch, just to be nice and close together. And then I will adjust the size until they too are just touching my two vertical guidelines. Now what I'm doing here is my mouse is a little bit sticky here, but about, in my case here, 25 pixels was close, but I might try 27. I said pixels, I meant to say points. 27 is a little too much, so I'm going to drop that down. 26. 26 looks pretty good. And then I'll do the same thing with the last line of text that says drop. I will double click on it, actually triple click to select the whole line there. And let's bring the letters closer together. Holding down the alternate key and clicking on the left arrow key, and then adjusting the font size upwards until those edges just line up with our guides. And then once you've made your adjustments, you'll find there at the top of your work area, let me scroll over here and I'll show you, there is a little check mark right there. I'll click on that to commit to those changes. Now I've still got one other problem, and that is the line spacing, which is also referred to as leading, is off. So I'm going to have to adjust that as well. So I'm going to select this center line here, and again I can use my character panel to adjust the leading. Here's my leading field right here. I can click and drag on that little symbol. Or again, there's another easy way to do this without using the panel, is to hold down your alternate key and press the up and down arrows on your keyboard to bring the lines of text closer together. We don't want them colliding with each other, but we do want them close together. It improves readability. I will double click, or actually triple click, on the third line that says drop, and I will do the same thing, just using my alternate and down arrow keys, and adjust the text thusly. And then I'll click on the little check mark in the upper right hand corner. And the last thing I need to do is make certain that it's not colliding with my coffee cup, so I'll go to my move tool and hold down the shift key and press the up arrow key to move that up. When I hold down the shift key and press the up arrow key, it's going to move it 10 pixels every time I do that. If I do not hold down the shift key and press the up or down or left and right arrow key, it's going to move them 1 pixel at a time. So 10 pixels moves it a little bit more quickly. And let's raise that up there a little bit more. We don't want it really close to the coffee cup. And I can turn off my guides simply by pressing Control semicolon. Again, you can find the command in your view menu, but Control semicolon is the quick way to do it. And there we have our finished advertisement for McDonald's coffee with text that relates to the coffee cup itself, and the text is nice and readable. Letters are close together, lines are close together, and all three lines are the same length. So I'm going to turn off my rulers just by pressing Control or Command R, and there's my finished project. Now what you'll need to do is spend a good deal of time on this. If your smoke or your steam does not look convincing, you need to work on it some more or redo it until it does. You want to make your work look professional, not slapdash or amateurish. So always do the best job you can. If it doesn't look photorealistic, the effect is not going to be convincing at all. So submit that project to me on Blackboard. Make sure you send me the PSD file that has all the layers. And one other thing here, I think it would probably help us out. We had this set at 300 pixels per inch with the assumption that we were creating it for a print ad. It ended up with we ended up with a file size here, in my case, of 25 megs. That's a huge file to submit on Blackboard. So what I'm going to have you do is drop your resolution down to 72 pixels per inch. So let's go to Image and Image Size, and down in the resolution area, let's set this to 72 pixels per inch. Notice that the file size will drop from the pixel dimensions will drop from 3.85 megs down to 226. And our file size goes from 25 megs down to 2.3 megs. And it looks fine on the monitor. So that's going to be easier for you to submit that to me on Blackboard. Okay, so let's do that, and I will talk to you next time around.